Today we are going to have a spoiler cast on a game we've been waiting all year for, Yakuza 7, also known as Like a Dragon.
I am so excited to talk about this game. This is definitely one of the things that I was excited for when it was first announced, because, you know, the premise of a new protagonist, and excited to talk about the game as a whole, since it's so radically different than what we know in the Yakuza franchise.
This game's also a big deal because we're jump-starting the Yakuza side of the franchise with a completely new character, so we're going to talk all about that. For anyone who's never listened to a spoiler cast, so throughout Downtime Podcast, we'll talk about games, we'll talk about how we feel about them, loosely about the storyline. A lot of it is more just about the gameplay itself. So in this spoiler cast, we're actually going to talk about the storyline for Yakuza Like a Dragon.
Yes, and please be warned that obviously the title of this podcast is a spoiler cast. You know that coming in here. You know that when you clicked on it. Know that this entire game's plot and story will be spoiled in its entirety. So please look away. Avert your eyes. Do not watch. Do not listen. Avert your ears.
If you reach this point, it's too late. It's too late. It's over. Too late to go back now.
Yup. This is the point of no return. All right.
Just like in Chapter 15, before you enter Millennium Tower. It's the point of no return.
And we could talk about that. We could talk about all the spoilers because this is now a spoiler zone.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, I want to start at the beginning, kind of. My initial thoughts of Ichiban were, okay, he's going to be obviously different than Kiryu. And he subverted my expectations. I think he's a great protagonist. He's very passionate. He's very outgoing. He's very exciting. I think it definitely is stylized in the way that his hair looks. His hair in the future, after he gets out of jail, when he gets that perm, is so likened to his character. His hair describes his character almost, where, you know, he's everywhere. He's electric. He's ecstatic. He's everything that a shonen main character is, and I think it's really cool.
He's a loose cannon, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
I think that Ichi's character is very fitting specifically for the turn-based role-playing game that they changed this game into instead of a brawler, where Kiryu is a bit more brooding, a lot of like quiet. Yagami is more of like, he is pretty skilled in martial arts, as well as a lot of detective stuff was incorporated with his character because Yagami is smart. And then Ichiban is kind of more just, there's a lot of different possibilities, and I think it's actually really reflected well in the battle system when that's introduced. There's all of these different things he could learn. You can just use fists, you could use a baseball bat, you can like slap someone with money. Like, it's just like, it's all over the place, but I think it works with Ichi. I'm actually a huge fan of Ichi as the new protagonist for the Yakuza series.
Me too. I really like that he just is a protagonist. Like, he just exudes that energy, you know. When you look at him, you're like, okay, that's the main guy. And something we kind of touched on a previous podcast, which I think definitely equates to him being a main character, is that he's wearing red, and red usually signifies like that he's like a, you know, he's the main person. He's like the main character. I feel like red in Japan is a color that is one-to-one, like signifying that this is the main character, with Ichi for sure. And like Power Rangers, I think, is a good example where the Red Ranger is usually the leader, or like the most powerful, or the most, I don't know. I guess, yeah, they're kind of the main center, not just of the show, but I think like the color is representative of that in the franchise. So Something else I wanted to point out, his suit is the reverse of Kiryu's, which is Kiryu wears an inner red shirt and like a gray outer suit, whereas Ichi wears like a red suit and kind of a whitish gray inner shirt. I think it's really cool that the developers kind of chose that color style, not just to represent RPGs, and, you know, main characters in general, but like they kind of reversed his color scheme to make him look standoutish, so you can recognize him easily.
Yes. As if you think about it, like Nanba, Adachi, Saiko, they're all wearing either kind of like a subdued blue or neutral colors for their outfits.
And I like that. I like you can tell, like, okay, Nanba's green, Adachi's blue, Saiko's like white. These are just their base outfits. Like Eri is black and white, and then you have Zhao, who is yellow, and then Han Joong-gi, who is like black with white hair, and like everyone has like a profile. You know, like how video game characters usually have like a silhouette, and you can easily recognize them. Mm-hmm. I think Ichi's silhouette, like all of their silhouettes, are easily recognizable from a distance. You can be like, okay, I know that character. And I think that's very important when it comes to making characters and making video games, because you want your character to be memorable. Like everyone can point out Sonic and Mario from a distance. You can all tell who they are by their silhouette. And I think not just the colors, but yes, their silhouettes definitely make them different characters and make them stand out. You can easily recognize them from far away.
Yes. Not to say that all the characters aren't distinguished in previous Yakuzas, because you have Haruka, you have Majima, you have all of these characters, but the difference in this game is that all the side characters are playable. So you have to actually have distinguishing personalities and differences more than ever because of the fact that you can play with them versus previous games. It has to be more defined.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they're very smart about that. Like, if you see Kiryu's silhouette, you definitely know it's him, like, for sure.
Yeah. So with Ichi's story, I actually think it's the best part of the game. Ichi's backstory leading to how everything rolls out in the storyline, and from beginning to end with Ichi, the Arakawa clan, Joe, all of those parts, I think are the best parts of the story. So I think of this game in three parts or three acts. So Act 1 would be chapters 1 through 5. Act 2 would be chapters 6 through 10. And then Act 3, which is the final act, into the end. It's like 11 through 15. So, like, and this is just my personal ranking, Jeremy. Like, obviously, like, you might have different opinions. So, sure. Act 1, I give it a 7 out of 10. Because I think it was a very good setup. I think it's great. And it's a good setup for Sayako, Nanba, and Adachi. It introduces a little bit of flavor to who these three main sides are. Like, it introduces, like, kind of the fact that, you know, we're gonna start off really poor, but I thought that would, like, and it's like, it sucks, and I hate it, and I can't believe I collected so many cans for this. But at the same time, for the story, it was one of those things where it made sense. Like, I actually, like, it's like, every time I visit Hello Work, I'm just like, ugh, another job. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, but this actually makes sense with the storyline. And then we'll go into it, but Act 2, I actually ranked Act 2 a 4 out of 10 in terms of the story.
Okay.
Because I just... And I'll go into it more when we start going further in the story, but I just felt like the game did not do a good job setting up new side characters, and most of all, the game didn't do a good job making me care about a lot of characters. And then the final act, Act 3, I basically jumped back to like an 8.5 out of 10. And mostly because we're back to the main story, we're back to the Arakawa line, we're back, we circle back to, alright, what does this all mean? And the whole ending act, I think, is, like, freaking really good, and actually, like, really mirrors what happens with Nishiki and Kiryu, and is a good setup to an open end for the next game. So that's how I rank the storyline in general for Like a Dragon.
Okay, yeah. That's I more or less agree with your ranking. I didn't really give it too much thought, to be honest, to think about like how much I like each segment. I kind of grouped them all together.
Mm-hmm.
And like in my opinion, I think this game is definitely a solid like 8 out of 10. Like it was good, but there are definitely some flaws, stuff that we'll get into later for sure.
Yeah. How I like to think about this is, and I think we talked about it on a podcast, where are the parts of this story where I really wanted the dialogue to end and I did not give a shit? Which is basically the middle chapters.
Yeah.
Until we come back to Masato and Rio. Or Masato/Rio. Or sorry.
It was definitely like a filler arc.
Yeah, it was like filler as fuck, and I like really didn't care. But then, like I said, the best part of the storyline is everything that revolved around Ichi's main story with Arakawa.
Yeah, that stuff was so good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's awesome. I definitely thought a lot about like the like the way the story flowed, because to your previous point, the middle is definitely weaker compared to the beginning and the end, because I agree with your point that Ichi's origin and everyone's origin in the first few chapters are pretty solid. The ending is definitely pretty good. The middle falls off a little bit as far as my attention, and I kind of focused more of it on playing minigames, and a lot of it I forgot because I didn't care. I remembered the beginning and the end more, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly had to look up a little bit of what happened in the middle, because everything basically sucks. And that might be an exaggeration. Actually, no, it's not an exaggeration. I really didn't care. I don't care about the Ijin 3. Like, it kind of was, like, a great word, filler. It was basically filler until Masato comes back.
Yeah, I felt like their entrance and excuse for being there was kind of short and useless. It just, there was a point where, like, okay, they're all fighting. You know that they're all fighting. Okay, so there's these 3 factions of ethnic groups that are all fighting each other. Like, oh, okay, that's so interesting. And then you see them meet in the middle chapters, and you hear, what's his face? The dude from the Seiryu clan. He's just expositioning everything to you for like an hour, and you have the whole thing where, just like Kiryu, Ichi goes, "Nani? Nandate?" And he's just sitting there like asking all these questions, and they're like, you know what? I'm just gonna tell you everything. It's like, I get it. I get that, you know, Yakuza relies heavily on segments for exposition, but like that was just too much. Like, to the point where I felt I was getting some strong Yakuza 6 vibes, where we're listening to what's his face, Beat Takeshi, just talk about everything about the battleship and why it's there, and I'm like, dude, I don't need to know the history right now. I thought this is a Yakuza game, not a history lesson.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes for that segment in the middle chapter where you hear from the Seiryu chairman, and he's just talking about everything about the EG3 and about how they all work, and then I
have the name in my notes. Hold on. The Hoshino.
Hoshino, there we go.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, Hoshino. He was a cool guy until he died, but honestly, he was just there. I don't know why he was there, to be a father figure, to just like help you, and yeah, like honestly, like if the game started out with, you know, you trying to figure out Aoki Ryo, and then you end it, and then you jump from there to like finding out that Aoki Ryo was Masato, you're like, oh shit, that's pretty crazy. Like everything in the middle was like, okay. I felt like the Ijin 3 was just used to kind of be the catalyst for why the Omi and Bleach Japan, yeah, and Aoki Ryo were interested in this whole little section. It was, I don't know, it was just it's just too much. It's just like, what the fuck?
On top with them, the three of them being the reason that we have to introduce Bleach and Omi, I feel like the three of them was also like trying to figure out this weird reason why Nanba had to leave the party for 3 chapters, or 2 to 3 chapters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a really roundabout way, is the best way I can describe it.
Yeah, no, exactly.
The Bleach part was that was interesting, all right.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where I don't have any real feelings. I didn't have any real feelings towards Bleach until Rio comes to the game. And then that's when I was like, oh fuck, what is going on right now? But aside from that, Kume, we'll talk about more later, because Bleach doesn't get interesting, of course, until the last chapter of the game.
Sure.
But for in the beginning, it's like, you know, solid, just regular setup of like, here's an annoying protest group, like that is going to protest everything in Ijincho.
Right.
The one thing that, real quick in the beginning, with Ryo Masumi, I thought, and it's because we played Judgment last year, and Judgment had a huge medical, like, pharmaceutical element to it. I actually thought, like, in the beginning prologue with the New Year's scene, I was like, oh shit, is there gonna be, like, some crazy thing going on where he's just gonna, like, inject this in my veins, and this is, like, a huge, like, he's living off of, like, meds, like, and these crazy injections for, like, the rest of, like, his life. But then it didn't turn out that way.
I'm so happy it didn't.
Yeah, but when that happened, I was like, oh my god, is this, like, oh god, we're gonna go this weird, like, stem cell, like, you know, science route, aren't we? But then, no. It's just the fact that it was 2000-ish, and now it's 2019, and technology's better, and that's why Masumi's okay now. But
that part was just, that part was weird, where he's like, okay, I'm in a wheelchair, I'm gonna use this medication to help walk, I'm gonna change my name, change my identity from this dead person, go to America, get an operation, come back and be a different person.
Yeah.
I was like, oh wow, so much happened in 19 years. I get that it's been a long time, but holy shit, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a lot. Also, a little bit of just like a graphical or like a character peeve. I feel like Masumi when he was younger looks older than Masumi when he's older, or it's like younger Masumi looks older than older Masumi.
Yeah,
current day.
The facial hair.
Facial hair. There you go. Yep. I was like, why do I feel like he looks way younger now than he ever did? But it's not just the fact that he can walk now. But good point. It's probably the facial hair. He looked like he was freaking 45. Honestly, like, in ways, he looked the same age as his dad. He looked like, oh, sorry, I keep saying Masumi. Masato. Masato looked the same age as Masumi, like, in the 2000 timeline. So, that is just a small peeve I had with the prologue.
No, I agree. It's a minor thing, but, like, overall, I didn't think too much about it. It didn't detract me too much from the story, because it was the early 2000s, and I was like, okay, I guess this is just what they look like in Japan in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
And
yeah, it's just a small peeve that I noticed.
No, for sure. Like, his older self definitely looked younger, and I 100% contribute that to the facial hair.
Yes, I agree.
But yeah, you were saying.
Oh, the main point was that I thought there was going to be a medical angle to it, but it turns out there was no medical angle.
Right. Okay. That's right.
Yeah.
I wish they would like tie things to Judgment or have Judgment tied things to Yakuza a little bit more. Like I understand they're two different games and in the same universe, but still, like I want to see some references. Like I saw Genda's law office above that convenience store in Kamurocho, and I was like, oh, interesting. But you can't go inside of it. Obviously, the windows are reflected. I even went to what's his face, the dude's private eye office, and I was like, oh. Cool. It's there. Yeah. You can't look inside of it. All the windows are reflected as well. You can't go into that building or anything. And I was like, oh man, that'd be cool to just like see the office or something.
That being said, do you think that, I mean, obviously Ichi does come back to Kamurocho, but do you think that his his main series is gonna mostly be in Ijincho?
So I was gonna mention that. Because they
fleshed out the map. Like, this is the biggest map I think Yakuza has ever made.
I think it is.
Yeah.
It is. It's bigger than previous maps for sure. And because I thought Yakuza 5's maps were big. I thought that Fukuoka was pretty big, but this is like much bigger. It took me like 5 minutes to run across the whole map.
It's massive.
That big. So what I noticed about Kamurocho was that they're definitely descaling how much stuff you can do there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just because they're focusing more on Yokohama. I think that Ijincho is going to be the place, the future of the franchise. I mean, new character, new map, new year, new me, right? So they're obviously they're gonna push for Ijincho to be that place. And I'm okay with that. I really like Ijincho. I think it has a lot of charm to it. It's not, I mean, we spent so much time in Kamurocho. I think it is time to move on.
I'm totally here for it. Yokohama is one of the places I want to visit. I love how, I thought that this whole Ijincho map was a 10 out of 10. There was just so many places you could go to, so many different districts. It was a lot of great things to see. And then on top of that, there is Minato Mirai, which for anyone who doesn't know what that is, in actual Yokohama, it's like when you're in the Hamakita Park or the snack district, in that area, you'll see the Ferris wheel in the game. So that actual location is called Minato Mirai in Yokohama. And I feel like for future games, man, if they made that pier playable and you could actually do stuff there, that would be a 20 out of 10 map.
I was so disappointed that we couldn't go there because that's the first place I tried to go to, and I was like, oh, because I've been to that spot many times, and I wanted to go back there just to see how much they recreated it. Turns out they didn't. I was really disappointed that they didn't because I wanted to check it out. There was a point where I thought that it just was blocked off in the first chapters because they limit where you're supposed to go, and then it turns out it was all a lie. Yeah,
and that was very disappointing.
Yep. Just like with Don Quixote, how they took it out completely, and I'm still mad about that. But yeah, that area I really want to go to, in the game because I think it's really cool. That half orange looking building near the Ferris wheel, by the way, is a hotel called the Intercontinental. It's a very expensive and nice hotel. It's really cool.
I actually have that hotel on my radar one day.
Oh yeah, it's really nice. I recommend you stay there one day, just for one night because.
Yeah,
it's expensive. I only stayed there for one night, and that one night was expensive.
But I'm sure it was amazing though, because you got that.
It was awesome.
View, and then
that was awesome. Oh. Yeah, the view is amazing to look at when you wake up. You just see the whole bay. You see the city below. It's nice.
Man, they have to realize for Yakuza 8, you have to make that playable. These are missed opportunities for the map.
I know.
Come on.
There's a convenience store in Minato Mirai. Like, it's in front of the hotel. You could just make that a convenience store to buy things at.
Make it happen, Sega. Come on.
Please. Make it, because you know how there's like Kamurocho Hills and Kamurocho? Yeah. Like, just make Minato Mirai the equivalent of that, where they'll open it up in a later game. Because that's what I want. I need it.
Give us what the people want.
I did not care to go to Sotenbori. I'd rather they have a bigger Ijincho map. Like, for real.
the whole purpose of Sotenbori in this game was for your character to farm. That was really the only reason why.
Let's talk about that. So we have talked about in a previous podcast, the TLDR of this is that in Chapter 12, you get to a point where you go to Osaka and you have to grind, but the game didn't really tell you that explicitly. They hinted like, oh, you can do this before and level up your characters. They didn't say you should level up your characters before this because there's something crazy going to happen. They're like, hey, you're level 35. Why don't you go do this boss battle? It's like, what? Oh yeah, this boss is level 50. And I'm like, what the hell? So Alyssa and I in a previous podcast were talking about how much we didn't like the grind from Chapter 12 onwards because it kind of forced you to do it. In most other RPGs, from my understanding, you just have to like continue the game on, and things kind of like scale to you. I guess it depends on the RPG, but in any case, there's kind of like a blatant way that a game is supposed to tell you to level up and move on. But in this case, the game was like, hey, you're level 35 against this boss, and you're gonna get one-shotted.
And to add more TLDR, this difficulty spike was a lot. It was a 10 level difficulty spike. Not even 10 to 15 level difficulty spike. It was huge. It was completely unexpected. And other Yakuza games, like Underground Arena was optional every single time. And like you can totally win the game without the Underground Arena. So this time, it's the game basically telling you, all right, looks like you gotta do the arena and the Kamurocho dungeon and all this shit. And I was just like, oh my god, God bless. God help me right now.
So that whole part, when I went into that building, the Omi Alliance building, I was like, okay, some shit's gonna go down. Saw Majima, freaked out, and I was like, yo, it's Majima and Saejima, holy shit, that's so fucking awesome. And then I was like, oh fuck, we're gonna have to fight them. Saw his level, looked at mine, and I was like, oh god, okay, so maybe I'm supposed to die. I died 4 times, and I was like, okay, this is not what you're supposed to do. And I really had to look up a guide because I was so confused, and then I was like, I don't want to do the battle arena, that's so stupid. And I did it a couple times, leveled up my characters. And I realized, too, that you also have to beat Saejima. And I was like, oh, shit. So I lost to him, went back to the gym, did it again, leveled up my characters once more, fought both Majima and Saejima barely by the skin of my teeth, and was like, I never want to do that ever again.
Oh, God. Not to mention, the battle is long in itself. It's not just difficult, it's a very long battle.
Yes.
That make sure you gotta make sure that you have all your healing, and you think that you have all your healing, and then you're like, fuck, do I need more? Apparently I do.
Right? It's like, wow. So what I did was I literally bought every kind of medicine.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too.
Because at that point, if you were smart about this and you did the business management game early, kind of like it starts in Chapter 5. So if you started it there, grinded your way up through that just to make money, because I spent 3 hours just playing that game. I had so much money to the point where I was like, all right, I want to buy all the best weapons and buy all the best healing items because I think we're gonna need it. Turns out you did need it, and that's the part where I was just like, I'm so happy I have all this stuff, and I forgot to restock one of those times, but luckily I did. So
it came to the point where after that was done and over with, what I did was I stocked up healing in my inventory as well, just in case I needed it for future chapters, just because it traumatized me so hard that I stocked all of my healing up to like maybe like 15 bottles of like stamina or whatever in my inventory, so that because when you go through the boss levels and there's the save point and the re-energizing point, there's also the storage box, and I basically just stored a lot of backup healing because I was like, this is freaking crazy. The jump from chapter 11 to 12 is insane, and it makes sense. It makes sense because this is where you start fighting all the major Yakuza bosses, but still, I was like, Jesus Christ. Like, there's no real, guidance or indicator for that. Unless you looked up a guide or someone told you.
Yeah, like, narratively, I get it, but, like, mechanic-wise, it's so stupid. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like at that point, Majima should have been closer to your level, at least, like, 5 levels above you.
Yeah, that one makes sense.
Right.
Even if you're the same level as Majima in that chapter, you can die. It's not enough, I think.
Yeah, and that's why I barely beat him with, like, I was, like, level 47, level 46 or 47, and I barely beat him, and I was like, all right, I beat him, I'm done with the game. No.
The end.
No, but, like, I continued on, and, yeah.
I wrote down the chapters and kind of, like, what level I was at for each of these points. So, chapter 12, I was 50. Chapter 14, I went to 55, and then chapter 15, I was able to beat on 60, and then when in Millennium Tower, when you reach Tendo, it got me up to level 62, because, that's you go up, like, freaking 12 stories, so,
right.
That in itself, I was able to beat, like, basically 50, 55, 60 for chapters 12, 14, 15, respectively, and then just, like, plus or minus, like, 2, 3, I feel like is good enough to beat the bosses, but they are long battles as well. It's not just being able to beat them. God, they have so much HP.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's so stupid.
Yeah. It's a lot of health.
They're resistant to a lot of things too, and the stuff that they are not resistant to, they still take the damage pretty well, even though it's like their weakness. It's like, okay, I'm doing this, but it feels like I'm not doing anything to you.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah, and even with the special moves and me having to, like, constantly refill people's health, refill people's, like, mana, like, that's how I felt with the final boss with Tendo. I really considered Tendo the final boss compared to Aoki, because he was so much easier. Aoki was like a cakewalk compared to Tendo.
It followed traditional JRPG where the second to last boss is the hardest boss. Like, this is this is like textbook JRPG.
Okay, that makes sense. With that said, yeah, Tendo was so hard. I was literally, like, whittling down his health with everything I had. I ran out of, like, MP for everybody and just started using knife attacks because those were better than using normal attacks. Guns didn't work. Fists didn't work, so knife was, like, the only way. So I had to have Eri and Hanjungi in there to help support and give. And I had Sayako out for heals, and I had, obviously, Ichi with his in case I get one-shotted thing on him.
Yeah, I was actually thinking the same. I actually did the same exact strategy. I had Nanba and I had Ichi have one-shot accessories to make sure that they weren't killed in one shot. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, not Nanba, Sayako. So basically, my hero and my healer had one-shot accessories because I was like, I'm not about to deal with this bullshit right now.
Yeah.
My final party was I had Adachi as a bodyguard. Because remember in the previous podcast, I really wanted someone to have a katana because the katana weapons were just so awesome. So I ended up...
And Sakura Storm.
Yep. I gave Adachi a Sakura Storm. And it was... Honestly, I'm so... Like, I love it. I was really happy with my final party. And then I have Ichi as a hero. I changed Sayako from a hostess to an idol so that I could get her healing, which is great. And then Nanba, homeless, but good God, that pyro special move saves lives, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, for real.
That pyro move is like a burning fire of 1,000 suns. It's like one of the best moves of the game.
I personally found it ineffective against Tendo, and that's why I switched off to other people. But I'm glad that you were able to get through him with those moves, because that's tough.
Well, getting through Tendo for me was like... So, what happened was I went into Tendo, and I told myself, you know what? I don't want to do the special heat moves for a while, because I want to see how far I can actually, like, beat Tendo without special moves. And it took a long time. I accepted it, though. Like, I'm used to playing really long boss battles. So, I got to halfway to Tendo strictly without any, special heat moves. And I was just alternating healing, buffing, and attacking. And it took a long time, but it worked, because Tendo is just one of those people that has a lot of health. And then when he got to the move where you can do a one hit knockout, I was like, oh fuck, I gotta kill this fucking guy. And then that was like spamming all of my heat moves, heal, buffer, here's a potion, here's Tarner, another heat move. Like, I was doing the most when he got that heat move, because I was like, oh lord, I need to beat this guy now, because I'm not about this one hit move.
Did he one hit any of your people?
He did. Well, he was constantly one hitting Nanba. Because Nanba, I probably just, like, had less resistance to it. It was harder for him to one-hit Adachi. I don't think I had anything specific assigned to him. I don't even think there was anything assigned to him. I think it was just his defense was higher. So, like,
sure.
There was just, like, a better buffer for him. But Nanba kept dying, and I was like, Lord, you gotta wake up.
Yo, bro, get up. We got a battle to fight.
Bruh, I'm not about this life right now.
Yeah, Tendo was doing the same thing to Han Joon-gi for me. I'm like, why are you beating up on Han Joon-gi every time? I revive him, he goes down. I revive him again, he goes down. I'm like, all right. I know, I feel like I'm wasting it, but at least Tendo's focused on one person instead of beating up everybody.
I agree. It worked out, actually.
Yeah. So, I would say the boss battle it wasn't hard. It was just challenging, and you just had to strategize.
Yes.
But I do think it was better than trying to fight Saejima and Majima, because that was
some dumb shit. I swear to God, that was dumb as fuck. Don't even know how else to describe that.
Yeah, and oh my god. I mean, also Kiryu wasn't bad either. Kiryu was definitely not bad compared to Majima and Saejima, because at that point you kind of know that you have to level your character up, and you're like, okay, well, I gotta go do this.
You knew what to expect.
And by the end of it, if you didn't level up your character and you saw that message saying, hey, this is the final part, there's no going back, you're like, all right, I gotta go level up my dude, because you don't know what level the boss is gonna be at. So that's definitely a good point. I think it's just good strategy in general, maybe probably good RPG thought to have that, to have you level up. So yeah, I do think that Tendo was easier than Majima and Saejima, because it was just easier to manage overall.
Kiryu and Tendo were on the same level, where the fight was manageable. It was just a very long fight because of their health, but manageable.
Right. As long as you were stocked up on all the health items and you had the right people in. Mm-hmm. I mean, even if you didn't know all of this beforehand and you played it, I mean, it sucks because you would have to do the whole tower over again. But at the same time, at least you can level up your characters, put the right party members in before the boss battle happens, and then make sure that you're ready to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So, go ahead.
I was gonna say one more thing, but I forgot. I'll bring it up when I remember it.
Sure. So, speaking of characters that appeared in previous Yakuza games, that moment when Kiryu appeared, I was shocked. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe you're here, but at the same time, why are you here?
Yeah, no, that was my exact same reaction, because it's like, I don't remember which chapter it is. I think it's like in chapter 10 when you have the huge Bleach fight, and all of a sudden, Kiryu comes out of fucking nowhere, and I was like, wait, oh my god, is that him?
Right?
Aren't you supposed to be retired?
Right.
I was like, aren't you supposed to be in hiding? What is going on right now?
that Omi chairman guy, I was glad to see him again because I remember him being in Yakuza 5 and he didn't show up in 6. And I was like, oh, he guys went to jail. And they showed him getting out of jail. And he's like, I'm going to disband the Omi Alliance. And then, what's his face shows up. Daigo Dojima shows up and he's like, hey, I'm disbanding the Tojo clan. And it's like, well, the Tojo clan wasn't really there anymore anyways, so I don't know what you're disbanding. But yeah, they're like, hey, we're disbanding, we're friends. And then everyone's all mad. And then Kiryu comes out of nowhere, gives that right hook punch. And it's like, what the fuck? Kiryu, he's back. Somehow, some way, what are you doing here? Even Ichi was like, yo, this dude's sick. And I'm like, okay. And like, even there were characters previously that were like alluding to Kiryu and like, oh, you're like him. Or you have the same energy as him. It's like, who are you talking about? Ah, nobody. It's like, I know who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about. You can just say it. I know it's Kiryu. Even the Onomichi sub-story, the Dragon Card sub-story. I'm like, all y'all connected to Kiryu. You have the same energy as him. You have the same look that he had. I'm like, oh, okay. I know it's Kiryu.
For real, though.
But, I mean, fighting him was also
I didn't
surprising.
expect him to actually show up is another thing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because I'm like, okay, we're moving on. Like, that was literally Kiryu's last story. Turns out that's not his last story. This is, like, not even an epilogue. This is still a continuation of his story. I'm like, okay. But it was even weirder that he knew everybody and was like, hey, I'm like an informant. I know everything that's going on now. I'm like, bro, you're literally the person that asks people, what's going on? What's going on? Like, you're that guy. So, like, how could you be that, like, information head now? I know what's happening now. It's like, no, you don't. You had to ask everything from everybody. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, what the hell happened? It's like, one, it becomes like, I'm done with this. I'm about to leave. For Haruka to have a good life, I'm not going to be involved. Bye. And then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm friends with Songwee. I know what's going on everywhere. And I was like... Jesus, what the fuck?
Yeah, and she's like, oh, she's like, what's his name? She's like, don't worry about it. I was like, what the
Yeah, I was like, what is going on right now?
I was so happy when Kiryu and Ichi met. And by the way, the chapter that they met, or they had their fight on, was called Passing the Torch, which applies to a lot of things, and I understood why, like, when Kiryu touched Ichi's shoulder, he's like, oh, you got this, kid, and left. I'm like, okay, you're passing the torch on, I get it, but you don't need to do it. You really didn't need to be here, Kiryu, but it's really cool that you're here. You know?
Hey, sometimes you need the fan service, sometimes you just need to see them. This was one of those moments. I'm cool with it. I'm alright.
Yeah. No, I am all for it. I'm all for it. But, like, if they really wanted to have Kiryu move on, they wouldn't have him there. But I do really like that he's there because it does add, like, a lot of well, to your point, it adds a lot of fan service to the game and makes you go, oh shit, that's awesome, you know.
He was there for fan service for sure.
Oh yeah, he didn't really help he helped the plot move along, but I feel like another character could have done that. And he was definitely just there to be like, hey guys, Yakuza 7, it's not gonna star Kiryu, but it's gonna have him in it. It's like, whoa, okay,
it's
very
like,
cool.
Here we are. I think with the chapter of passing the torch, I did appreciate the heat cutscene where Ichi's dressed up as a knight, and it represents Kiryu as a dragon, of course. And basically, it's like passing the torch is also slaying the current dragon. And then, bam! Now Ichi, the dragonfish, is ready to roll.
Right? So now he'll be the dragonfish of Ijincho.
By the way, I love how it's like, any time he shows his tattoo, it's like, what is that? It's like, it's a dragonfish. It's like
it's not as cool as a dragon. It's two kinds of animals, a dragon and a fish.
And I'm just like, oh god, I'm all about this dragonfish. And I'm not gonna lie, the dragonfish looks like a derp, but I think that's exactly why it's meant to be. So
it's like the people who want tattoos, just like Kiryu's tattoo, but the dragon looks like so derpy. It's like, all right, close enough.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I agree. I think that his tattoo definitely, like, it exudes his character. Like, it's definitely a part of his defining character and reflects him as a person. It's like, oh, this, it's not a full dragon. It's kind of two animals, whereas Ichi is kind of that. He's a yakuza and a brute, but also like a good friend and like a smiley dude all the time, because Kiryu never smiles, and
Never.
Ichi loves to smile and stuff like that. So
Exactly.
I think that that tattoo definitely does reflect Ichi as a person and a character. It is derpy,
I agree.
and I like that because Ichi's pretty derpy too. I kind of wanted to touch on references, because this game is chock full of them. Some of them I didn't understand fully. Some of them maybe that you caught that I didn't. One of them would be Sujimon, which is a clear reference to Pokemon.
That was an interesting way of introducing all the possible thugs and beasts that you can beat in the game. Like when you're doing that sub-story. By the way, on a real quick side tangent, I really like how introducing each of the different restaurants or mini games or important parts and functions of the game, you had to go through a sub-story. I thought that was cool.
I did too.
Yes. So the whole Sujimon thing, I was like, you're going to a doctor, or sorry, more like a scientist, and he's just like, here's the Sujimon, and then you have three thugs wearing like yellow, or like they were in like three different colors.
Red, green, and blue.
Red, green, and blue,
which symbolizes water, fire, and grass, the types that you start off with Pokemon with, and you have to choose one of those types. And I'm like, oh my god, that was a clear, blatant reference to Pokemon.
Yeah, it was totally Pokemon. And that was just interesting to me. It was creative. I thought it was fun. Like, it's funny that's how you can that's how you can look up your Suja decks of all the thugs and all of the different enemies, so that you can figure out their weaknesses and whatever. But I just thought that I was like, wow, they really went there, didn't they? No fucks given here.
Nope, none at all. They went to the Sujimon and they're like, yo, this is Pokemon. I think it's really funny because it's kind of a jab at Nintendo, tongue-in-cheek kind of way, where Sega and Nintendo were always neck and neck, and now Sega's like, yeah, we're gonna make a shitty version of your franchise, and it's gonna be funny.
I know.
And I thought it was amusing. Like, it's to your point earlier, I think it was really clever that they were able to give you a way to show the weaknesses of enemies, because I was definitely looking at it when I was doing the Sultanbori Battle Arena, because it was helping me figure out, okay, this is going to be the next enemy in this room. Do I have this in the Suji decks? Can I see what they're weak against? It's like, oh, perfect, electricity. It looks like Ichiban has a electric bat, so we should be able to beat this room. It's good. It's pretty cool. References to Dragon Quest as well. I thought were really funny. Like when you get a new party member, there's a little jingle that plays in like a 8 to 16-bit format, and I was like, wow, this is definitely something that is like clearly from an RPG. The fact that Ichi saw everything in an RPG format. He always talked about Dragon Quest. I think it's really interesting that the developers and the director chose like Dragon Quest as the franchise that Ichi loves the most. Dragon Quest not being owned by Sega, by the way, by being entirely owned by another company, was really interesting, and it stood out for sure.
I liked it a lot because it was just like kind of like just a fun reason. Like, so here's why it's a JRPG. It's simply because Ichi really likes Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that was really clever, and I thought that was really funny, and it was cute.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of references, I don't know if you know this singer, but when you're in the hostess club for Otohime, the one that's in Ijincho, there, right, when you're looking at that wall of kind of like, here's all like the possible, like, people or whatever, there's like there's like Aika, if you know who she is.
Are you talking about in that soap land?
I think so. Yeah, in Otohime, the one in
Pretty sure all of them are porn stars.
Oh shoot. Oh, sorry. I thought one of them was actually like a singer. Like I thought it was Aika. Yeah.
She's a porn star too. I'm pretty sure she is.
Oh.
When I saw her, I was like, oh shit.
Oh, okay.
I mean, come on. You know the tradition. You know how the Yakuza games are.
Yeah, I know, but I thought like that was kind of like
well, you could look it up and tell me what you find.
For sure.
You could be like, oh shit. Well, but yeah, because like it could have been a reference to her. Like she could have had like a poster in there, right? Is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that I would have to look again, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe someone else can confirm.
I'm like Googling. Oh yeah, Aika. She's just a singer. She's not like I don't think she's a porn star because it doesn't seem to imply that in her wiki, or I don't think she's an AV model or anything. Yeah, I think she's like she's just a singer as far, or at least from like what because I know a few of her songs. That's why I knew her as a singer. Oh, I didn't know she was from the United States. Interesting.
I thought, interesting. Okay. Well, yeah, little references to real things, little references to in-game stuff, to fake things. I think this game is definitely a love letter to the franchise as a whole. I wouldn't call it a send-off for Kiryu because the previous game was a send-off. This is more of just like a love letter to JRPGs, and we're gonna include little references and fun facts about stuff.
One thing that was really cool.
One of my favorite things.
Oh, finish your thought?
I was gonna say one of my favorite things was the conversations you would have with your party members across the world, just like walking around pressing triangle, and then they would talk about something.
Yes.
So like Zhao was talking about when they were in front of the arcade in Yujincho, how he was playing something on a VMU, which is specific to a Sega Dreamcast, and then Ichi goes, "You had a Dreamcast?" And I was like, wow, this is very much like Sega to reference their own stuff, which is funny because they also have that in the vocational school minigame where there's two different tests on Sega, which include questions like, how old is Sonic? Which of these was a console that Sega released? It's like, wow, that's pretty cool. It was cool for me, at least.
I was about to say, what I thought was really cool is for the Survive Bar record player, you could get songs from Persona.
Oh, yeah.
As well
I
as...
I like that.
I think I saw something from Valkyria Chronicles, too. I was like, oh my god, this is crazy.
Yeah. They had a reference to that in the trivia minigame at the vocational school where they're like, which of these is the faction that this character is from? I was like, what the hell? I haven't played this game. Of course, it was the answer that was not like the others because I didn't play the game.
Yes.
But I did like how that Survive Bar had the CDs you had to collect. So there's like a song from Sonic Adventure. There was like a song from Daytona USA, which I did not know Sega created, which is so random that they would create a game called Daytona USA.
Yes.
But I mean, it was a different time, right?
It was. Yes, indeed.
Yeah. So references. I love references in these games when they reference each other. Like in Yakuza 0, where that fortune teller tells Kiryu all about his future, and I didn't understand any of it. And now I do, and I think it's really cool.
That being said, speaking of Yakuza 0, the best thing for me for Survive Bar was just playing Friday night on repeat anytime I'm in that bar. Like I kid you not, anytime we walked into that bar and I needed to buff the relationships with any of my players, I was just like, okay, Friday night, put it on. We're doing this.
Yeah.
So
dun, 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 dun. I love that song.
The best. I forgot the other dance song I like, but I love Friday Night.
Koino Disco Queen, that's the other one.
Oh yeah. God, I love that song so much.
So kind of tangential, but also related. Friend of the show, DJB, streamer, musician, awesome dude overall, Final Fantasy fan. I was playing with him on one of his streams one time. We were playing Valorant, and in Valorant, he has this thing where if you clutch the game, meaning that you defuse the bomb correctly with all the enemy team dead, or if you're the attacking team, you kill all the other teammates, and then you plant the bomb and successfully have the bomb go off. You have a clutch theme, which DJB is selected for you, and he plays when you do something successfully in that sense. So my clutch theme was Friday Night from Yakuza 0.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. Thank you so much. He's like, yeah, man, I thought of you. And I was like, dude, you need to play Yakuza 0 first. I don't know how you found out about that song, but you got to play Yakuza 0. So.
Which has the best songs, by the way. So.
Yeah. Yakuza 0 definitely does have the best soundtrack, in my opinion. Because if it didn't, music. Yeah, because if it didn't, they wouldn't be having the songs in the other games.
It's very true.
So going back to grinding real quick, in the game, there are enemy spawns in the overworld, just like there are in previous Yakuza games and other RPGs. But I felt like there were a lot more enemies spawned in the overworld this time. Did you feel the same way?
Sorry, what do you mean by overworld?
So like the hub world, the world where you just walk around, like in Ijincho, for example.
Oh yeah, dude. Yeah. 100% the spawns were all over the place and you could never avoid them. Like, remember how I was telling you, that's like one of my biggest pet peeves right now about the game? It's like the spawns were all over and you couldn't just walk around them like previous games, or just like the fight wouldn't actually start unless you were within a specific like close distance and they could actually touch you. This time it was just straight up like, oh, you're a mile away, let's start the battle right now.
That was so annoying. I got so fed up with it that eventually, towards the later chapters, I found an item called Hariti's Amulet, and I read it, and it said, it'll prevent enemies from spawning in the overworld. And I was like, what? No way. I had it on one of my characters that was not in my current party, and it still worked, and there were no more enemies, and I was so happy. I could walk around the world without having to worry about being stopped.
Oh, yeah. It was so... It was getting really ridiculous.
Yeah. So hopefully if you listen to this after you beat the game, hopefully you had that item and used it, because I was so tired of like grinding with enemy characters that were like below my level, especially in Ijincho in the beginning area. Like everyone was like level 11 while I was like 43. It didn't make any sense. I could one-shot everybody, but it was just annoying to get past them. So I had the amulet on and I was like, I'm done with this. I'm fucking done. I just don't want to fight in a battle that I don't need to. If I wanted to go to a fight, I would go to the battle arena and just, level up that way, because apparently that's what the game wants you to do. So,
yes.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Agreed.
So what are your thoughts on the side games, the mini games, like Dragon Car, golf, etc.?
I mean, I didn't play Dragon Kart that much. It was fine, but I didn't play it that much. I never played golf. Honestly, my favorite side game aside from karaoke was the fucking movie game, Seagull Cinema. It was just so absurd, as I talked about before. But I was like, but I'm here for it. This is so stupid. But I beat the whole thing. So here we are. And every time the movie would have a different, like, ridiculous, like, caption or thought from Ichi. And I'm just like, this is, like, my favorite thing right now.
I love it. I love it so much. It's so ridiculous, but it makes so much sense.
I know. I'm here for it.
Yeah. I liked that, and to be honest, I was not opposed to that can collecting game. Like, it wasn't bad either.
Oh, did I tell you? I beat the can collecting game in 3 hours, and I I went all the way to like collect the most amount of cans that you had to basically unlock more items. Like,
right, you did tell me that. Yeah.
I was all about it. During that can collecting game, The first time I played it when you weren't forced to play it, I was like, all right, I guess I'll do this because I need to get things for the hero quests. And then like 3 hours later, I was like, oh god, did I really just spend the last 3 hours of my life recycling? Yes, I did. And it was amazing. Not to mention,
yes.
I think the mechanic of that game's really fun. You're just it's like Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man. It's Pac-Man with cans.
Yeah, exactly.
And I loved
That's what I was thinking about. Yeah, I was there for it. It was good. After you told me that you played it for 3 hours, I actually jumped on it myself and played it for 3 hours, and I got a bunch of stuff, and I was like, yep, I'm satisfied. But the main purpose of me doing that was so I can make my charisma maxed, and I did that.
Nice. I didn't even realize that it was boosting charisma up, but I mean, like...
Oh, well, you had to get points, and once you have enough points, you will buy, like, a book.
Oh, that's what you mean.
Unleashed.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's what you meant.
Yeah,
I thought
no
that you were talking about, like, just finishing it boosted your charisma.
Oh, yeah, the activity itself. No, I wish, dude. I'd be playing that game so much, but, no, the fact that you had to buy books to update your charisma, like, I that was like the last thing I needed as far as like my personality wheel for Ichi was. So I had to play that game over and over again because I wasn't about to play slots because that game was so confusing.
No, yeah, of course not. Never.
I ended up finishing Dragon Kart. I still don't really like it that much. It was fun, but solid 5 out of 10 for me. I ended up getting the last cart after you beat Pocket Circuit Fighter. Yeah. I guess he's just called, what is he called? Dragon? He has a different name, but he's like Dragon Driver or something. Dragon Drifter? Yeah, there we go. Dragon Drifter, which is, again, another Initial D reference, which is awesome. TLDR, Pocket Circuit Fighter, aka Dragon Drifter, or whatever his name is a reference to Initial D because his last name is Fujisawa, which is similar to Fujiwara, which is Takumi's last name in the Initial D series. Even his Dragon Kart was black and white and was painted similarly to the Initial D's main hero car, the Toyota AE86. So lots of references to other animes and stuff in this game, and that's just one of them, and I loved it. And it was okay. It was okay after all that. It was fun. I collected rings to buy another book to help me boost the rest of my personality with Dragon Kart, and after that I just stopped playing it.
Did you boost your whole personality?
I did. I maxed out everything.
Oh, shoot. I definitely did not boost my whole personality.
Yeah, because you needed to complete all the sub-stories, because you know how there's, like, women you can talk to in the game?
Yeah.
I talked to all of them, got the sub-story. Was... It's kind of messed up, actually. So you go on dates with all of them, and then they all have feelings for you, and then they all think that you're cheating on them, so they show up to Survive Bar with a bunch of weapons, and they're about to beat your ass. And then you wake up.
Oh my god. That's hilarious. It reminds me, like, it's a mechanic in Persona where you could technically date everyone in Persona. But what happens is on White Day, I think it's called White Day, like if you have more than one relationship, then all of them are going to show up at the bar that your uncle works at. Like it's like crazy.
Oh wow, maybe that's a reference to Persona because Atlas and Sega. Sega's owned by Sega owns Atlas, so maybe.
Yeah, they're all pretty related.
Did you finish all the conversations at Survive Bar with all the party members?
No. I only with Adachi and Nanba Sayako, and then with Jungi and Zhao, I finished like level 2 with them, and then I was like, whatever.
Oh, okay. Do you mind if I tell you something about one of the characters?
Yeah, because I'm not gonna finish them.
Oh, okay. So Sayako likes someone, and then like Ichi's asking her who she likes, and she's like, actually, it's some stupid guy. He's an idiot. And then he's like, oh, okay. And it turns out it's actually Ichi. She has a huge crush on Ichi.
Wait a minute. I finished the Sayako storyline.
What's the Sayako storyline?
Why don't I remember that?
because it was a sub story. Sorry, I'm getting them confused. There is a part. Psycho sub story is about her bar chat was about her sister, but she has a sub story that you have to do where she talks about a crush.
I ship it. I'm here for it. Let's make it happen for Yakuza 8. Oh god, I gotta watch. I'm gonna watch it on YouTube now. But let's make it happen, Sega. Let's make it happen.
Ichi's like, so what's your type? And then she's like, well, I like a guy that she's like naming stuff off, and she's like, what about you, Ichi? And he's like, yeah, I like the kind of girl like this. And then he's like, oh, actually, he's like, Sachan, do you have a crush on anyone? She's like, well, kind of, yeah. And he's like, oh, what's he like? And she's like kind of describing Ichi, and he doesn't realize it because he's, too thick-headed to realize it.
Yes.
But, she's not trying to tell him that she likes him. She's just trying to tell him that she likes a guy like him so that he doesn't find out. Mm-hmm. And then he walks away, and she's like, you're an idiot. Because, she actually has a crush on him. So. Let's
make it happen. Come on.
Also, she kissed him when he was asleep, and he woke up and thought it was a dream. And then she's like, "You're just dreaming things." And then she's like, and then she walks downstairs because I thought it was a dream too. And the bartender was like, "How did it go?" And then she's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." He's like,
"Oh my
young
gosh."
love. And the sub story ends. I was like, "Yo, I ship it. I ship it hard. That's hella cute. That's hella cute."
Wow. Okay, this has to happen now in Yakuza 8. I really want Nanba and Sayako to be, and Adachi, those three, I hope, are the main people carried over to Yakuza 8. They should be, at least. I hope there's, not a whole new group of people. You can give or take the other two, but those three for sure should be copied over.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Ichi will definitely be in Ijincho because, he's like, this is my home, I gotta protect it, so I feel like he's just gonna stay there. Namba, his brother's there, which we haven't seen, and I guess he's gonna stay there because he's got nowhere else to go.
Oh my god, okay, finish your thought.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna say. The rest of my thought is Adachi doesn't have a job, so he's just gonna hang out and be a bum. And Sayako, her sister's now free from that weird boyfriend, so now she's just gonna hang out, and maybe they'll all just hang out together, and Sayako will, reveal her feelings. But yeah, yes. No, I know what you're gonna say. You're gonna talk about Namba's brother, right?
Okay. So, it's really weird. Yakuza is the game that tells you everything and shows you everything. Right. These conversations are very long, and they show you every bit of it. They show you who's dead, they show you, who's alive, they show all of these things. Oddly enough, in this game adds too much dialogue to certain points that I don't care about, and they cut out really important plot points that I feel like shouldn't have been cut out of the game. So, one of my biggest pet peeves in the middle chapter is the fact that Nanba goes missing because his brother was doing an investigative report on the counterfeit money, and then he disappears from your party. You have Eri has to join your party, which, by the way, I love Eri. And then eventually, after you fight Bleach, after you fight all of these people, and then eventually the Jomijol are like, we'll help you. I'm like, oh, God, I guess. So after they finally help me, and Nanba's back, it's like we cut to this next scene where Masato's classmate is arrested, or not arrested, but he's basically tied up in the homeless camp. And then Ichi has this conversation with Nanba. So you're gonna see your brother now? And he's like, yep, I'll go see him. And then you cut to the next, and you're like, alright, so we're gonna see this reunion. We do not see the reunion of Nanba and his brother. In fact, we don't see Nanba's brother at all in this game. And I just thought, storytelling-wise, that was a very weird move for Sega to basically dedicate 3 chapters based around this brother, but we never see the brother. I thought that was really weird, and also made me really bitter, because I hate these middle chapters. And now I don't even get to see the brother that I'm fighting for. This was dumb. So I mean, like, I'm sure, like, in the grand scheme of things, a lot of people don't care about Nanba's brother. But for me, it's like, what the fuck? Like, Nanba disappeared from my party for 2-3 chapters, and I don't even get to see the conclusion of this.
Yeah.
I hated it.
So, adding on to that, in the beginning, it's like, Namba, tell them why you're here. This is when you're infiltrating the Gomijo and you're inside their, like, headquarters, the hive or whatever. And they're like, tell them why you're here. He's like, oh, I'm here because I'm homeless or whatever. Like, no, you're not. You're here to find your brother. And he's like, what? You have a brother? Yeah, I have a brother. And he's dead. And I want to know why you killed him. Actually, he's not dead. He's living with us and he's married to this Korean woman. What? I want to go see my alive brother. All right, cool. You're going to disappear from the chapter. You're going to disappear from the party and you'll be back in a few chapters and you're going to go find your brother. All right, cool. See you guys later. I'm going to go hang out with my brother. And then he comes back. It's like, oh yeah, how's your brother? Oh, he was cool. He's married. He's going to live here now in this underground facility with the rest of the Gomijo. It's like, you set this up to be something bigger and you didn't pay off. Like, you don't even show him. They could have just had a cutscene where they showed him like, hey bro, it's me. Oh my god, you look so different.
That's exactly what I was expecting. I thought that was the payoff. Yeah. I thought we were going to get.
Right? It turns out none of it was for Moot. It was just nothing. It was just some weird brother sub-story that they created, side story or side arc they created just for nothing to happen. It's like, dude, why are you telling me about your brother if you're not going to show me your brother? Like, I don't understand.
Yeah.
I really don't.
It's not uncommon for party members to disappear for different storylines. I actually thought it was, at the beginning when this all happened, I actually thought it was creative that Nanba disappeared from your party for a little bit and you had to, like, kind of figure it out. And then when that happened, what I actually thought was going to happen was at some point every main character was going to disappear from your party and you had to deal with it. So I thought at some point Sayako would also disappear, at some point Adachi would disappear. But no, only Nanba disappears, and he disappears for a whole arc, and all of the main story points were talked about, like, did you do that? Yes. Are you kidding me? This is how it's going to end. Right.
I didn't like that they didn't give us a payoff.
Yeah.
Like, that's it, plain and simple. They're just like, hey, this is a thing that's happening. That's it. That's all happened. You get. Like,
yep.
It's like you're setting it up for nothing. Like, it's so stupid.
Exactly.
Why even set it up at all then? Why even do it?
Yeah. I just don't understand.
Whatever. I mean, that leads into the middle part, which is nothing. It's like they had a really strong beginning and end, and they just didn't have anything in the middle.
The middle, like I said, I just didn't like the middle at all. The only strong point of the middle is if you dedicated the middle to playing the business management game, because Eri's great. I love Eri. If I didn't have I switch Eri off here and there, especially when I used Lucky Punch to kill the vagrant vagabonds, and it was like she's very useful in battle. Like she's a great party member. But what sucks is, like, it's like she's such a great party member, but she's not even in the cutscenes.
Yeah, it's everyone else was but her, and she was kind of just like a one-off thing. It's like, hey guys, Eri's joining the party. Awesome. Eri has joined your party, and you'll never see her ever again, but only in the business management minigame.
Exactly. Which sucks, because she was such a good battle party member too. Like, she's great. I wish that she was in the cutscene. She's so useful, and this is gonna go into my point about Zhao and Jungi, but the problem I have with the middle chapters is that it's like the game has a one character story arc mentality with a multiple party turn-based system. And so, like, what I mean by that is, if people are added into your party, then I think that story-wise and for the narrative, you have to give everyone an interesting way or reason why this character is cool and why I should care about the character. And I just really did not, like, the game didn't do a good job in telling me why I should care about Zhao or Jungi or the Ijin 3, to be completely honest. Like, I just, like...
Right.
It was just such a flat point in the game until Masato comes back to the story. And on top, and then just, like, another thing is just, like, all of a sudden, Jungi has a brother. Like, he's not actually dead from Yakuza 6. It's like, what? Like, what is going on right now? So, it's like,
right.
And that being said, Jeremy, you actually finished his bar story, so there might be more to him, and maybe I am missing out. But in general, like, I feel like the game gave me a reason to play with Adachi, gave me a reason to play with Nanba, gave me a reason to play with Sayago. But, like, there was just no reason for me to ever care about Zhao, and especially Jungi on my party. Like, at least give me Songwei if you're forcing me to play with someone from the Jomijo, but not Jungi. Like, that, I just, I just really didn't care for the middle chapters at all. And then the whole Nanba brother thing, the end of it was a total sour point.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. But I will say that I did find Jungi useful in battle because he had an electric attack, he had a physical attack, and you can have him have like titanium knuckles, which were on fire, so there was a fire attack, and he had guns. So he was a good way to figure out what enemies were weak against and what they were not weak against, and that's what I used him a lot for. But after a while, I just stopped using him in general, and kind of fell off after I just found out about his story. And I was like, okay, you're just some plastic surgery clone of a dude who died, but because I saw him die,
yes,
Kiryu was there, and
we all did. That's why I was like, what is going on? You have a brother clone now? Like,
well, okay, so do you remember what you read about him? Because I could tell you the full story.
Just tell me the full story. Oh, and then before you tell me the whole story, you don't actually need him for electric power because the legendary bat is electric for Ichi.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But initially I used him as that, tester for electricity.
Yeah.
So this guy, he has a different name. It's like Yonshim, I think is his real name. Ugh. But he goes by Hanjugi. He acts exactly like him, and he's a carbon copy because for some reason the Gomi Jewel or whoever, they want the spirit of Hanjungi to live on forever, both like mentally but also physically. They need that actual Hanjugi person to be alive to keep like the legend alive, I guess you could say. So his dad, in order to please Hanjungi the original, he made his son look exactly like him, and it pleased the original Hanjungi so much that he made this current Hanjungi a bodyguard / double, so that if something were to happen to him, then he would be able to take the bullet or whatever. But it turns out the original Hanjungi died, so then this now new Hanjungi has to take on the mantle of Hanjungi, and everyone thinks that Hanjungi is still alive except for Kiryu, who's like, oh yo, you wait, didn't you die? And then there's a whole scene where they talk about it. But yeah, it's kind of weird, kind of stupid. My thing is, this dude sounds exactly like Hanjungi. You can have plastic surgery to look exactly like someone, but you probably won't sound exactly like them. So the fact that this dude is the same in and out is just weird to me. But I mean, it's a Yakuza game, and I can't really question too much, but I can complain as much as I want.
That's so dumb. You could have just had a new gang, like Korean gang member. You know what I mean? You could have just created a completely new character. Did anyone even I mean, don't get me wrong. Jungi was a really good antagonist in Yakuza 6. It was he made things spicy for sure. And then he was a morally flawed person where he kind of batted for both sides. But was he that popular that we needed this Jungi guy in Yakuza 8? You know what I mean? Or sorry, Yakuza 7? That's my question.
I mean, when I saw him, I was like, hey, aren't you dead? Like, what are you doing here? And then, because he had the same name, and I found out, and I was like, actually, this is kind of stupid. Like, it's not even funny. It's just stupid that, I don't know, that kind of thing exists.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right.
You could have had a completely new person. He could have had a brother. You know what I mean? But like a whole plastic surgery, like, oh god.
He couldn't have a brother because Namba already has a brother that we didn't see.
Oh god, triggered. I'm so triggered right now.
Yeah, I know how you feel.
Ugh.
Well,
it didn't bother me as much when Masato's when they said that they killed off Masato's classmate, who I forgot his name, but the director of Bleach. When they kind of said it didn't bother me as much, but it also still bothered me. It wasn't kind of like Nanba level, but it wasn't Nanba or Masumi level, but I was still like, yo, why didn't you show that? Like, yeah, there's just there are a lot of like narrative decisions in here that I was surprised by.
Yeah, and I guess they're just trying to steer the franchise in a different direction, I guess, with still like retaining a lot of the same elements. But yeah. I don't know, a lot of it just felt cheap in a way.
Yeah.
But I mean, again, overall, I enjoyed the whole game. I enjoyed everything about it. And I just want them to learn from this and make Yakuza 8 even better, because I felt like this game had a lot of potential. It was missing a lot of things. But it was still good overall. Like it's unfortunately, I don't think it's in my top 5, but it is a good game.
Oh yeah, I've thoroughly enjoyed this game a lot. Like honestly, like this is like a Yakuza 1. So it's like, it's fine if this game isn't anyone's favorite, because like it's not like Yakuza 1 is really, or you know, Yakuza Kiwami Yakuza 1 is kind of like at that time when it first came out, it's not like everyone was like, oh, this is my, you know, this is going to be like my favorite game ever for all the Yakuzas, because it's like, you know, we're going to see Ichi grow even more in the game. The real plot twist. How'd you feel about the plot twist of Ichi's real identity?
I was like, wow, this is very on brand for them to do this. I thought it was cute. It made sense, but it was just kind of weird too. Like the fact that there were 2 babies in 2 different lockers at the same time was like, okay, what? Oh, okay, you guys are pushing a little bit here. Like, the Yakuza franchise knows, like they do ridiculous stuff like that, but only if it happens once. Yeah, exactly. If it happened once, I'd be like, all right, okay. Oh wow, that's the baby in the locker. Oh wow, no wonder he can't walk. That's crazy. But there were 2 babies in 2 different lockers that were right next to each other, and I was like, okay, this is too much. So they're really pushing there.
Honestly, I was, like I said, when I gave you my prediction that either Ichi and Masato are cousins or Ichi and Masato are half brothers, like, I feel like it could have been achieved without having there be 2 coin locker babies. And the reason why, and look, I understand Yakuza doesn't care about physics or science or biology, but it's like, it made complete sense to me that Masato was handicapped for a part of his life because he was lacking oxygen in a locker room with 20-degree weather. That makes complete sense to me. I totally get it. The fact that that same thing didn't happen with Ichi, though, and they were all in the same lockers next to each other in that weather, that is the part I think is, like, kind of threw me off immersively. I was just like, oh, okay, that's weird.
Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, like, it's on brand with Yakuza. Like, we, like, you know, I knew a plot, like, basically, after Masumi and Ichi had the conversation, I was like, oh, these two people are related in some way, and we're gonna find out how. But, that whole, like, I feel like we could have, you could have revealed Ichi was the real son in a different way. Like I said, it was super spicy, and I was, like, thoroughly enjoyed. It's just the science behind it that Ichi survived well, and...
At the heart of it all, this game is about sons and their dads, and the problems they have with their dads.
It is, yes, exactly.
And it's confusing because you think this game is about other things, but it's not. And it's really about sons and their dads, and you're like, oh, okay, this is...
It's really about fatherhood.
Yeah, it's really about that. And you're like, all right, I guess so. Sure. All right. Moving on. Yakuza 8. When's that coming out? But again, it's not a bad game.
Yes. The one thing that, like, when they went the Sawashiro route, that, like, oh, they're actually not, like, they're not brothers or cousins at all. They're not even related. It's just, like, two completely different families. I was like, oh my god. I wasn't expecting this, like, mindfuck of a story.
I really thought they were related.
Like I said, we're not here for science.
Right. We're here for chance and two babies in two different lockers that are next to each other at the same exact time on New Year's Eve 2000.
Exactly. That's
how it happens.
Masumi and Ichi are very, like, super awesome together. I like the chemistry. We all knew he was gonna die at the end of this game, but at the same time, you're still like, you know, if you follow any Yakuza game trajectory, it's like, yeah, this guy's probably gonna die, but do we want him to die? No. And also, like, I was really another reason why I didn't like the middle chapters that much is, and I mentioned this before to you, Jeremy, but it was just the fact that, like,
sure.
the wait for bringing this all back full circle was too long of a wait. It was like a 5-chapter wait of figuring out how all of this is related. The end of chapter 2 is so spicy because all of a sudden you're back from prison. Like, Masumi wrote letters to him, like he was actually, like, trying to keep up, and then all of a sudden, like, your patriarch shoots you, you know, in the place that he promised he was gonna buy you dinner at on New Year's Eve before you went to prison. It you know, it's just like,
right,
like, it ended in such a... The beginning chapters were great, and then all of a sudden, lull, and then finally we're brought back, which is great. But
right,
yeah. It's not surprising in any way that Masato was actually the one who killed the rival Yakuza member in the end.
Right.
That's not surprising.
No, not at all.
Yeah. That being said, I wish we got a more, like, obviously we're never going to get this dialogue because they're both dead, but it would have been great to... And this will also relate back to the fact that we didn't see Masumi die. We kind of just assumed he was dead on the stretcher. And then when they reveal the Tendo and Masumi conversation, they didn't do it with an actual cutscene. They did it with the stills, which by the way is super pretty, and I really like that. I just felt like you shouldn't do that for Masumi's death because he's like,
no.
Like, not for that character you do that.
Right.
But it was just like, there are a lot of unanswered questions, in my opinion, of just like, yes, so he knew the whole time that they were, like, when did he basically figure out that wasn't his real son, but the other was his real son? I really wanted to know that. I feel like, I mean, you know, it's never going to happen, but it's something I really wanted to know, and I was curious about.
Sure. Yeah, same. Because it kind of just another example of where they just were like, hey, this happened. Oh, cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, yeah, this is how it is. And you're just like, okay, but, like, did they cotton swab a DNA test or something? Like, was there an inkling all of a sudden? Like, I just wanted to personally know when Masumi realized who his real son was. That's all.
No, I feel it because they tell you everything else. Why are they not telling you this?
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But yeah, we love this game. Oh, well, okay. Love is a strong word. We like this game a lot, guys.
I do.
Okay?
I do really like this game.
Yeah, we're criticizing it because we like it.
Yes, but now I just want to, with the whole ending, I wanted to kind of repeat what I texted you when I finished the final chapter. When Masato and Ichi are at the lockers, but that ending, to describe it in one sentence, was truly some Nishiki ass bullshit. Like, I couldn't believe what I just saw with that ending, especially because finally we've reached the point of of freaking Masato and Ichi coming together, and all of a sudden this fucking guy from Bleach that you think that throughout the game you forget about because you're like, yeah, that guy wasn't even really that important anyways. It's not like he knew any of what Bleach was really all about. And then all of a sudden he stabs him, and I was like in shock. And it went to credits. It went straight to credits after that. I was like, what the fuck just happened?
I know, right? It's like, hey, this, and then of course you see the aftermath after the credits. You're like, oh shit, you can't just leave the game here. And then of course they show the them going, I guess, post funeral. I was like, shit, dude. And
I
what
know.
about Kume? You're gonna let him go? Like, didn't you guys chase after him or anything?
Good God,
he just murdered somebody.
And then at first in the credits, I was like, oh my God, maybe he's not dead. Like, he survived this whole time. Maybe he's really not dead. And then you see the shrine of both him and Masumi, and you're like, they're dead. Oh my God.
Yep, they're dead. There's no coming back from that. No resurrections.
They're dead. Oh my goodness. So, I think that was the most shocking thing of the game. That death, because I think it's because, like, I really was going into this thinking like, all right, wow, I wonder if, like, he goes to jail, because in my head at that point I was like, wow, he's gonna go to jail, but I wonder, like, if he will actually be, like, a main character at throughout the series, like, all of this stuff. And then it's like, nope, same tragic death as Nishiki. So
I honestly thought he was gonna live.
I really
like, wow,
did.
They're gonna let him live for once in this game's franchise. They're gonna let him live.
I know, and he was killed by Kume of all people.
Yeah, that's like shit.
Fuck, I know. That was honestly a good. That was a heartbreaking ending, though. Like, that conversation between Ichi and
I liked it because they're, in a way, like, these two guys who have different dads were coming together and finally realizing what's happening, and then it just all ends. It's crazy.
I think that the ending and everything is super promising for setting up basically the whole Ijincho world. Ichi, like, basically living for, like, the people he loves and everything. And honestly, I know we talked about it briefly, but I do think the ending does imply Adachi, Nanba, and Sayako at least are back. I really do think, like, 70% they're going to be back in the next game.
Yeah, I want them to be back. They're a lot of fun.
Yeah. I would like them to be back as well.
I think they're really good additions to the franchise, and they definitely round out that whole JRPG aspect of this game.
I agree.
But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens next in the next iteration.
Yes.
All right. I think we've talked this game to death, Alyssa.
There's one more thing I wanted to say. My favorite sub-story is, I really like the Persimmon sub-story. it really touched my heart.
Oh.
I was like,
yeah.
it was really hilarious to me that you had to go back to that persimmon tree, and every time there was a new person trying to knock down the tree. And, like, there was a freaking sumo wrestler, there was, like, a guy with a BB gun. It was just, like, ridiculous. Like, I was just like, where did all these people come from? But,
yeah.
God, I really like that sub-story. Like, that's the one I remember the most, and then in the end, the girl was able to survive her operation, and that one really, really touched my heart for sure.
Yeah, that was a really good one. I liked that one a lot because, like, I had to keep coming back there and seeing all these ridiculous characters try and knock down this persimmon tree, and I was like, "What the hell?" That being said, the one that made me the most sad was probably "Forget Me Not" with the ghost girl. That was really sad.
Oh, that one! Ooh, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was really good. And then they're like, "Who are you talking to?" He's like, "What do you mean? You can't talk to her like that." And they're like, "Well, you're crazy." And then Ichi's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And they're like, "We don't know what you're talking about." And you fight, and then you realize she's gone and she's dead. And I was like, "Yo, that was pretty cool."
I will say, I forgot the name of the game, but I was not getting the game for a little bit. It took me a while to get the game. The one that you played at the arcade. I forgot what the game was.
The one what happens in the game?
The one with the UFO. I forgot what the one that you have to play for that side story.
You talking about the crane game?
Yeah, I was not getting it.
Oh.
Like crane games are just like my crutch when it comes to Yakuza.
Okay, not gonna lie, I think I'm actually pretty good at the crane games.
No,
like,
you told me that you're actually good at the crane game, but like I just can't. It takes a while for me to get it for sure.
I know, right? So, funny story. I thought I was really good. I went to a round 1 in Kyoto with my friends, and I tried playing the real crane games. And I sucked at it, but then my friend was like, "Oh, there's a certain strategy you have to do. You have to like make sure the claw's hands go in a certain way to push the item in your direction." I was like, "What the fuck? That's some magic bullshit." And he did it, and he won a giant Kirby, and I was like, "Yo, what the hell?" And so I tried that tactic in the game, and it worked several times. Where maybe like in Ijincho, for example, some of the prizes are on an upper level, and then like the below is where the catch is. So you have to like position the crane so that it'll be above the item, but like kind of adjacent to the edge. So when you press lower, it'll lower and it'll push the item out towards the edge and off into the bin where you collect it. And I was like, yo, it actually does work. So some of those I got, but then it took a while for some of the other ones because just how the way they're shaped is hard for me to catch. And I was like, okay, but yeah.
Oh,
fun stuff.
I wish. If only I had that amount of skill.
And it's all about positioning and timing. That's all. That's
fair.
It.
Very fair.
Yeah. But like I understand a lot of people probably don't have patience for that.
Real quick about that story, that sub-story, I honestly would ship them if I wasn't already shipping Sayako in my head. But they were cute.
I know.
They were really cute.
Yeah, but the fact that she's dead makes me ship Sayako and Ichi even more.
Yes, pretty much.
Cool.
All right.
We do have one question / comment. This is from Chariot Goblin. Who thanks again, Chariot Goblin, for your comment. That's kind of a response to your previous one and our response to you. So their comment was, "I was at the same level you were entering chapter 12. For this chapter and onwards, I found myself buying lots of health and MP items and spamming the essence moves. For the final chapter, it was a process of group heal, refill with 300 MP, spamming orbital laser, and using pound mates. I grinded to level 61 and was fine for the final battle. Thank you, orbital laser and Ichiban confections. The vagabond enemies in the dungeons give lots of XP as well." Cool. So Chariot Goblin, thanks again for your comment. You're echoing kind of what we mentioned earlier. I forgot about pound mates and talking about it. Basically, pound mates is when you call in people and they have certain effects to either your party or to the battlefield. Yeah, that's cool. I liked using pound mates a lot.
I did pound mates at least once with every character. Definitely Nancy the crawfish and Majima had the best in terms of like their intro of the heat, like the heat cutscene. They were the best for sure. But Nancy the crawfish, gotta give love to my homie. So
yeah. And then Ilyu Jin also had like the freezing one that I found useful for like Tendo, for example.
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but
okay.
I'll remember it when I see it.
Sure. It's kind of funny. His inclusion is in reference to an actual Japanese drama that premiered. Oh, sorry, it's a Korean drama that premiered in Japan in 2004, and it was so popular in Japan that they aired the uncut Korean version, because in Japan they had like a Japanese dub, but then the fans were so ravaged for the original that they released it in Korean with Japanese subtitles on Japanese TV. And that drama was called Winter Sonata, and the drama in the game that it's referencing is called Your Winter Sonata or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think it was really funny. Like you wouldn't understand that unless you actually like maybe watched that drama or heard about that drama, but like that's such a weirdly specific reference that I understood, and I was like, dude, why do I know this? This is so weird, but like
I know.
I guess it makes sense. Also, shout out to my dad who watched that and told me about it, and I was like, yo, that's awesome.
It really is, like, I think Winter Sonata is like on Coffee Prince level of like really old school dramas that people love.
Right? And they still talk about it to this day. They reference it.
Exactly.
And yeah, and they still like they're people parody it, all that jazz. Like it's so iconic.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm rewatching the Eugen Pound Mates. Oh my gosh, it's called Sub-Zero Sonata.
yeah, that's so funny, right?
Oh my gosh. I remember
so
this cutscene now. It's so good.
Nice. Yeah, it's perfect. I loved it. I love it so much. Pound Mates is just so funny. My favorite was when the soup kitchen girl falls from the sky and she already has her arms crossed. She's just standing there in that pose and looking menacing, and just like it's so funny.
Yes, that one's good too. Oh my god. I love it.
She resupplies all your MP, which is awesome.
I love, by the way, how the sub-story introducing Pound Mates, they all thought it was going to be some super sexual thing, and they were all really excited for it, but it turns out, no, that is not what Pound Mates means.
Some big dude shows up. Hey, yo, what's up? You called Pound Mates? It's like, oh, what are you doing here? Like, I'm gonna beat you up. It's like, what the hell's going on? I thought I was getting some sex. It's like, nope, no, you're not. Oh, that's really funny. I think it's really cool that they can include characters from previous games, and have them in there in the Pound Mate selection. So like Majima and Saijima were Pound Mate selections. Kiryu is one, and you can also get Daigo Dojima as well as a Pound Mate's character. Pretty cool. Pretty unique.
Super cool.
Yeah. Well, all right. Any other closing thoughts? I think we can end it here, Lisa.
Yes. I like to mention at the end of each game we like fully talk about like whether it's worth playing or not. And yes, this game totally worth playing. It's a great intro game to a new protagonist. It's a lot of fun. Some of the best mini games of the whole franchise, and you're gonna meet some pretty although there's like some flaws with the game, overall it's totally fun and you're gonna have a good time. And I think that a lot of the highs will make up for some of the lull periods in the middle. So
I agree with everything Alyssa said. Despite all of our complaints about the main story and especially the middle parts, it's still a solid game. You don't necessarily have to play previous Yakuza games to play this one. I think that's part of the marketing strategy they had where they call it Like a Dragon instead of Yakuza 7 because I think people will think, oh, 7's too many. It's a smart move, but you will be confused when certain characters show up and you don't know what's going on. For example, Kiryu's reveal. They make such an emphasis to show him that he's there, and you might be playing wondering like, who is this guy? You'll never hear his name spoken out loud in the game, and you're like, why is this guy so mysterious? He must be important. So if you aren't familiar with the franchise prior to this, I highly recommend you do play all of the Yakuza games starting with 0. At least all the ones that are available in the West. There are some that are Japan only, but at least play 0 through 6. And then play 7. Or if not, just play 7 and then play 7 first and then play 0 through 6 and then you'll understand who that guy was that was talking so much with the gray suit. But yes, I think this is a good, solid game. I love the direction it's going in. I was turned off by the turn-based combat initially, but now I have seen a new light and I love the turn-based combat in this game. It's fun, it's unique, it's different for this franchise, and it's something that this series really needed. So can't wait for Yakuza 8. We're definitely going to be talking about it. Elise and I will for sure play it, and we'll give you our thoughts when it comes out.
Yes. All right,
guys. Well, if you want to find us, you can and leave a comment. You can go to www.downtime.live, click on the contact form, fill it out, leave us a comment that way. You can send us an email the old-fashioned way, contact@downtime.live. You can leave a comment wherever this podcast is hosted that allows comments, such as YouTube, Podbean. We're also on Apple Podcasts. You can leave us a review there, and we'll read it on the podcast. You can find us now on Spotify and Google Podcasts, as well as Stitcher. And you can find us on Twitter. Tweet at us. Leave us a comment. Join our Discord. Wherever this podcast is hosted, there's a link to join our Discord. Click on that, where we talk about everything from the Yakuza franchise to TV shows, movies, music. We love it. And that's all.
Yes.
Everybody, thank you so much for listening to our spoiler cast for Yakuza Like a Dragon, aka Yakuza 7. Have a good night.
Peace.